everybody. This is Carol Maletta. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. Okay, what if I told you the secret to being a good mother isn't about loving every moment, but making space for the messy, contradictory feelings we're told we have to hide? Today, we're joined by Dr. Margo Lowy, psychotherapist, mother of three, and the author of Maternal Ambivalence, The Loving Moments and Bitter Truths of Motherhood. Dr. Lowy dares to ask, why are we so afraid to talk about the darker emotions of motherhood? Those flashes of anger, guilt, maybe even resentment that swirl around all of that love and joy. So through her research and personal journey, she challenges the myth of the perfect mother and invites us to embrace the full, complicated truth of what it means to parent. If you've ever wondered whether you're alone in your conflicting feelings or wish someone would just say out loud what you're thinking, this conversation is for you. Thank you, Dr. Lowy, for joining us today.
Thanks, Carol. What a great introduction. I was thinking maybe you need to be the one to write my book. It just had everything in it. Thank you so much. It was great. I think the hard thing when you write a book is to get the essence out. And I think that you really managed to get that with the introduction. So thanks very much.
Well, thank you for joining us, because I think now, especially in this age of social media and just vastly expanded media from, even when my children were younger, there's just this, you're bombarded with images or videos and clips of people just glorifying their motherhood experience. And then when the camera goes off, they feel the same way we do, I'm pretty sure, a lot of times. I mean, I'm not saying they're not happy, but they have challenges too, and you just don't get to see that. So let's just get started by defining what maternal ambivalence is and why it's such a touchy subject that people don't want to talk about.
Okay. Maternal ambivalence is something that ambivalence itself is actually traditionally been something that's been negative itself. And most people don't understand what ambivalence is. And it's actually something that connects you, that's transformative. And often it's confused with a not caring or an indifference or a blend of feelings. It's not. How I define maternal ambivalence is our ability as mothers to engage with all our feelings, our loving feelings and our bitter feelings, our resentful feelings and our compassionate feelings, our angry feelings and our happy feelings. And what we as mothers do in particular is, I think we definitely we neglect these difficult feelings, or we just kind of pass them off and don't really think about them. And what my work is to encourage all of us to think about these difficult feelings, because I believe that in these feelings, there's a lot that we can learn about ourselves and about our children and about our mothering. And in fact, I like to say that mothering is designed to have all these different feelings. And even though we try not to go into those difficult feelings, we actually really need to think about them and to assess them, because actually they fuel our love. And even though that sounds like a paradox, that is actually what happens. Can I give you an example?
Absolutely.
Okay. You're in the mall with your three children. It's busy, and you tell them, just hold on there, stand close. I've just got to work out where we're going to go. So you're looking through your iPhone or whatever, and to see where you're going, and then you look up, and one of your kids has disappeared. This happens to all of us in some manner or fashion. We've all kind of lost our children properly in one way or the other. So what do you feel as a mother? You're panicked. You're furious. You're thinking that little so and so, I told them not to move and they've gone. Then you're thinking, did someone take them? This is really serious. I don't know what to do. Do I scream? Do I cry? I'm holding my other two kids close to me, but what's happening? And the world, instead, a minute feels like an hour, like you don't know what to do. You're absolutely possessed because you're thinking, my life is going to change now. If something happens to this child, I'm finished. My life, as I understand it now, is over. So you're trying to process all of this. You're totally panicked. And then 3 minutes later, you see that child happily skipping over with one of the friends from school. You hold this child when the child arrives so close to your heart's beating violently. You're kind of trying to process your anger, your fury. And what happens is you actually melt and you feel this overwhelming feeling of love for this
Mhm.
child. It's renewed, it's stronger than ever. This
Mhm.
is what ambivalence is. It's this ability to melt, to hold together all your feelings, and to actually think about those terrible feelings that you had, knowing that they're going to be renewed. And in fact, there's many experiences of this, probably every day when you're hands-on mothering and you're mothering as a young mother. How I say it is it kind of gets you ready, and we keep showing up minute after minute, day after day, year after year. This part of mothering, the ambivalence, it hasn't been named as ambivalence. And that's really what I want to do. There's a
Mhm.
whole lot of our maternal language that hasn't been named, and ambivalence is a big part of it. So,
So let me just make sure I understand, because you had talked a little bit about a renewal of feelings. Like, for example, when the child comes back, are you referring to a renewal of the feelings of love and
yes,
joy after the
yes,
fear?
melting moments, yes,
Hmm.
that renewal, those feelings that keep us going every day.
So that leads me to what I was going to ask next about what the impact would be if mothers really understood maternal ambivalence the way you're describing it, what difference it could make to their mental health
Okay.
if they were felt comfortable
Yes.
embracing this full range of emotions.
Okay. Well, I talk a lot about flow in mothering, how important it is to go with it, to surrender with it, to flow with all one's feelings. And that is really important for anyone's mental health, a mother's mental health. And what we do is when we don't think about those difficult negative feelings or dark, disturbing feelings, what we're doing is we're cutting off part of our experience. So what
Mm-hmm.
we're doing is we're becoming rigid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does rigidity do? It makes us judge ourselves. It
Mm-hmm.
makes us judge our children. It makes us judge our experience. It makes us judge everything. So what I'm saying is we need to flow. We need to be forgiving of ourselves and our child. We need to be more compassionate. And we need to be really careful not to be rigid, because what happens is when we get shocked by one of our feelings, what
Mm-hmm.
do? We tense up and we say, I'm not going there. And so what that does is it disrupts our flow. And what society does, which is what you're talking when you talked about the social media, is society likes to do that for some reason, because mothers have been pitched from time immemorial to be fully caring, fully selfless, fully there. And what I'm saying is it's both. We are fully caring, and sometimes we're not fully caring.
Mm-hmm.
We're compassionate, and we're not. We're resentful sometimes, and we're not. We have losses, and we don't. And what I'm saying is let's get rid of this binary thinking. Let's get rid of this or that it's resentful or compassionate, that it's loving or bitter. Let's bring it all in.
Yeah, and as you're describing it, I was trying to even think of any other role or person that we have those expectations for.
No. And that really informed a lot of my work,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really, you can have resentful feelings about your partner. You can have it about your friend. You can have it about your parents. You can have it about your cousin. You can have it about your workmates. And you can actually even have hateful moments, which that's
Mm-hmm.
another part of my work, but we won't necessarily go there now. But with your child, you are not allowed to go there. So what I'm saying is, let's free us up, because really, mothering is one of the most difficult and important jobs that we embark on in our lives. We're creating, forming, bringing these people, little people, into the world. So why are, first of all, there these ideals, and even more importantly, why do we collude with them? Because we do.
Mm,
As mothers, we actually collude with them.
that's powerful. Absolutely. We are actually supporting
Yes,
this and are helping to perpetuate
yes,
this norm.
we
Yeah.
do.
Mm-hmm.
What's what's so interesting to me about this conversation, part of fluidity is to be able to laugh
Yes.
at ourselves, to
Mm-hmm.
laugh at our experiences with our children. And I think that we really need to free ourselves to do this, because often, especially as when we're hands on, we're so pressed with time that we
Mm-hmm.
forget to laugh, and
Right.
we forget to actually put it in context. Doesn't matter if my child is 10 minutes late for school. We just
Mm-hmm.
look at the most disastrous thing. And I remember doing it myself.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to be on time to school. It's so important. But over time, I realized, you know what? It's not that important. Of course, you
Yeah.
don't want to be late for school every day, but we have to be fluid, and things happen. And we
Mm-hmm.
need to teach our children that it's not a disaster.
That's what I was going to say too. And often that can lighten the mood. Because I can remember when my children would just seem to take such joy when I just laughed
Yes,
about something, like we're running late or something didn't turn out the way
yes.
we planned, or maybe they did something I didn't expect. And just instead of being angry, I just laughed. I mean, we would go on and solve the problem if there was one, but just the laugh, it provides relief to them as
Well,
well. It's a relief valve.
and it renews something. Laughter
Hmm.
and flow really renews something. And I think it's so, so valuable if you're in the situation that you can use that. Sometimes,
You
like,
can't.
you're not. You're not.
Sometimes you can't.
So
Hmm.
I'm not saying you can always do it, but probably the majority of the times you can
Hmm.
kind of stop, think about it. And laughter is just, it's just a balm to make things better. And
I agree.
it's, and when you think about small children, that's
Hmm.
actually what they use. And we can learn so much from our children.
Hmm.
I think that as we get older, sometimes, or in that challenging period when they're young, there's such joyful moments, but there's such difficult moments as well.
Sure. Now, I'm curious, do you find that the ambivalence that stay-at-home moms might experience would differ from mothers who work outside the home?
Okay, first of all, I want to go back to the ambivalence, and I want to make sure that we all understand that it's something that's transformative and healing.
Hmm.
So it's something healing. So I guess what you're asking me is whether there's more difficult, challenging feelings for mothers when they're at home than when they're at work. Is that
Well, sometimes working moms may they have a different kind of work. And in some ways they feel like they can't escape it because they live there, they work there, and everything. And then you have the moms who work outside the home. They too have duties at home as well, but they're at work.
right?
They have a whole another set of challenges, another universe of people that they have to deal with.
Yes.
They've got mom guilt.
Yes.
as well, because they're not with their children or not in that space doing something directly tied to the children. So I just wondered how they might experience it, how what you may hear, feedback from your book, feedback from your work,
Right.
whether there are any different messages. There may not be, but I was curious.
I actually think it's both. It
Hmm.
goes with my message and. I think the key to it is as a mother,
Hmm.
wherever you are, there's always the other place that you're thinking about.
Yes.
So when you're at home mother, you're dealing with the boredom, the stuckness, the trappedness, the everyday, the same thing over and over and over again. Plus, you're seeing the joys of being there, of
Hmm.
being a mother, of being a stay-at-home mother. And there's both there. And I think mothers who stay at home often dream, wouldn't it be easier to be at work? When I can get out of the house, when I can escape from all this, that would be great.
Hmm.
Equally, when a mother's working, I often think that mother also wants to be home. She's wondering what's happening. What am I missing out on? Is
Hmm.
this worth it? And, most mothers that are working have to work and mothers that are at home are making sacrifices so they can stay at home. But
Hmm.
I think the way we're made as mothers, we're always pulled.
Yes.
So I don't think there's actually a measure. I think it's both. I think that mothers at home
Hmm.
struggle and in a different way to mothers at work and we're paid work. And I think when you're rushing for paid work to get to paid work, it's really difficult because you're leaving often a child and you can't complete something. If
Mm.
the child is crying when you leave for work, that is really difficult. Even though the child's probably not going to be crying 3 minutes after you leave and it's put on there for you, but you're left with that. And
Hmm.
then there's always that busyness and always that thing. What are they doing now? And you're under time pressure. What am I missing out? Am I going to be home on time? What's happening with dinner? Am I going to be home for dinner? Am I going to be home to finish the project? There's a massive amount. And I don't think either is easier. I think it's
Hmm.
different. And I think they both have challenges. And I think we really have to be forgiving and compassionate with both forms of all types of mothering and to
Hmm.
understand that neither is better or worse. They're
Hmm.
different and both have challenges. And we need to be compassionate.
Hmm.
I think that hands-on mothering is difficult, and to
Yes.
hold it together for so many years is difficult. And
Hmm.
it's like it's a continual adjustment to separation and letting go. That's how I see mothering at all stages. And I'm actually intrigued. I'm actually absolutely curious and wondering about this, even though I've got my own 3 children. I've been doing this for a long time. My oldest child is nearly 45. It's
Hmm.
fascinating. And
Well, here's what I want to ask you. Did you have this view? Did you understand maternal ambivalence when you were in the thick of it? Because I wasn't sure at what point in your career you really honed in on
Okay,
this.
I love that question. Okay, it's a long story, of course. Now I'm a grandmother. My oldest is nearly 45. My next child is nearly 36, and I've got my youngest is 28. So I've got a very big span. I've got 17 years between my first and my third child. And just to be brief, my first experience of mothering, I was 23 years old.
Mhm.
I didn't have a clue about mothering. All I knew or all I hoped for, or all I believed is I was going to have this experience of complete fusion and delight and
Mhm.
pleasure with this child.
Mhm. We've been
And,
there.
and I wasn't able to entertain any idea of it not being that. And any difficult feelings about my mothering, I wasn't able to entertain. And I think I was enjoyed my mothering, and he was very cute, a lot of laughter, but there were difficult experiences that I did not have a clue about how to manage, how to entertain, how to think about it. That was my first experience. I think that I didn't do him a lot of favors. And okay, I've come to terms with that, but I think it was difficult. My second experience of mothering followed on 9 years later. I had secondary infertility for 7 years. So that was incredibly difficult, incredibly soul-searching. And I was lucky enough to have a second child. It was a total gift. And of course, when he was born, it was like, no, I can't. There's absolutely no way. This is such a gift for me. How could I even think that this was anything but wonderful and almost that dirty word perfect? So we can talk about that being a dirty word a little later. And so I thought I was in total bliss. I had my beautiful 2 children and I was totally fulfilled, except that I wasn't really flowing with my mothering. So 8 years later, I had my third child, my daughter. I was 41. So like I'd been a mother at 23, 30, about 34, and now 41. So I'd had the whole, I was a young mum, I was kind of a middle mum, and I was an older mum. Now this time I had my daughter. Well, listen to me. I engage with my difficult feelings. She wasn't going to let me get off the hook because she named everything. And then I learned that it was okay to have these feelings and I wasn't going to get away with not being genuine. And she questioned me and she challenged me and she made me laugh. It was absolutely amazing. And I don't know whether it was because I was older, partly, and it was because she was the kind of person that she was, and she was maybe that's how she was. And she held a mirror up to me. And it was absolutely made me understand about mothering. And she made me understand about ambivalence. And she made me understand that it was okay. When she was going through her last years of school, I also understood. I'm a psychotherapist as well. But at that point, in about 2000, I understood I actually had to be around for her last years of school. I had to be very present, not necessarily in her space, but around to be there. So that's what I did. And so then I decided to write my PhD on infertility, on maternal ambivalence. I'd written a research master's on infertility. When I was pregnant with her, I finished it. And then I decided I wanted to find out I wanted to go into a space about mothering that was different. I found in my consulting room, there was something that I refer to as an empty chair for the client's mother. Her mother would always be in the space somehow, would come into the space. So I knew it was really important. And I knew I wanted to venture into an area that really was silenced because the mothering space was saturated. So I found a book by someone called Rosika Parker on maternal ambivalence. It was called Mother Love, Mother Hate originally. And then I was intrigued and horrified at the same time. So, it also tested my feelings about that word and what it meant. Anyway, I wrote my PhD following that definition. And then after I finished my PhD, one of the people that marked it, she worked for a series called Women in Psychology. So she asked me to write a book on maternal ambivalence. And it was my first book called The Maternal Experience. And it was really, I loved this book, but it was quite academic. And so when I finished it, it was about 2017, I decided, I've really got to write a conversational book about this. So what I did was I put the research book away and I started to write it from what I remembered, what I recalled. And I just wrote it from my head and from my heart. And that's where this book is. Maternal Ambivalence, the loving moments and bitter truths of mothering. That's what I wanted to do. And someone described it in a podcast as like a compassionate companion for those
Right.
who are mothers, and we're all mothers. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that young mothers who are in the thick of it don't necessarily have time to read a book, and I understand that. But I think the beauty of this book is you can pick it up, you can put it down, you can look at the index. It's conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
I used film, I used examples, I used TV series, and from what I understand, it's really easy to identify with what.
Worried about that summer slide, that loss of learning kids can experience over summer break? I get it. When my boys were in elementary school, I discovered Summer Bridge Books by Carson De La Rosa Education. Before we hit the beach or the water slide, we hit the books. For just a few minutes a day, these engaging, fun workbooks can help your child keep their skills sharp and their confidence high all summer long. Don't let their hard-earned progress slip away this summer. Make sure they start off on the right foot for next school year. From preschool to high school, Summer Bridge is a strong solution. Click the link below in the show notes and help your child bridge the gap this summer with Summer Bridge Books by Carson De La Rosa Education.
Why don't you talk about, for the audience, a series or movie or that
Yeah.
illustrates some of your points?
Okay. Well, I've got a chapter on Little Fires Everywhere,
Okay.
which
Mm-hmm.
was which was the series that Reese Witherspoon did on mothering. Just unbelievably close to what I talk about. She didn't mention ambivalence, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was and what she experienced. And I'll just explain. At first, when the series start and they go to the end and come back. What the series started, I don't really want to be a spoiler, but I might have to do a bit of the spoiler. It started when you could see her magnificent home burning
Oh,
down.
oh, right. Mm-hmm.
And then it went to her experiences as a mother. And she was middle class mother and everything looked perfect. She
Mm-hmm.
had the perfect middle class home with the big house, the husband as a lawyer, the 4 children, the 2 boys, the 2 girls. She worked part-time as a journalist. She had blonde hair. She was pretty. She was like what you would think was the perfect mother. And as the show progressed, the cracks started to show. And she was promoting this image of herself. And in
Mm-hmm.
the home, everything was neat and tidy. There were color-coded charts for all the children's activities. The meals were on the table. There was a bit of the children were watching TV together. They were fighting like all children do. And what you could see was that she couldn't actually manage any kind of dissension about her ideas. Like there was her way or the highway. And you could see that in how she was on the outside and of the house and how she thought she knew she had all the shoulds worked out. And what ended up happening is we could really see what was really going on. And if I think about how her daughters were portrayed, it's absolutely brilliant. She had one daughter, her older daughter, who was like a mirror image of her. This girl was at school and she got good grades and she had a boyfriend and she was like a mirror of the mother. But what happened was it ended up that she'd actually stole or copied someone's assignment to get through to college. And she actually got pregnant and had a termination, but she wasn't able to show this to her mother or share it with her mother because
Right.
she was holding her mother up.
Exactly.
And then there was the younger daughter who was absolutely intriguing, Izzy. Well, Eleanor, the mother, Reese, and Izzy did not see eye to eye. Izzy was like out there. She wasn't putting up with her mother's crap. She was calling her what she was. She didn't want to go to school and do all her things. And there was huge fights amongst them.
Mm-hmm.
She really questioned her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that Izzy was gay, but her mother was the last person to find out.
Mm-hmm.
But in the interaction between this daughter and her mother, there was some compassionate, beautiful scenes.
Mm-hmm.
The mother Elena actually ended up destroying it, because in the end she'd say, "This is perfect." So you're laughing, and it is absolutely hilarious, but there's so much meaning in this.
That's right.
And what ended up happening, and these daughters were like, how I saw them is they represented parts of Elena that she hadn't actually brought together.
Right.
Because they're two parts of her, and that's why it was so brilliant. I can find this, whatever I watch, whatever I see, I bring in ambivalence into it, because that's what I do. In the end, it was so wonderful. And there was a lot of other subtexts going on there, which I'm not going to bring in. But in the end, she actually realized that she was the person who actually had started the little fires everywhere. So it was such a wonderful vision and such self-realization of her, of how she moved from someone who was so split and someone who just idealized perfection and shoulds and the ideal, and for her to move to this realization that she'd caused it. And in a sense, her love for her children was actually renewed at that moment, because she realized, yes, I'm
the problem.
I'm the problem. And how it's just wonderful. And I really encourage, I think it was 5 or 7 series. It's a lot, but really worth watching, because there's so much of what we can identify. And I suppose what I'm saying here as well is that as mothers, if we can find creative means to understand ourselves, it's just so freeing and so wonderful, whether it's doing our work, whether it's making a podcast, whether it's writing a book, whether it's seeing a piece of art, whether it's seeing a movie, whether it's watching TV. It's just, we need these creative outlets for us to understand.
And that's exactly what I was getting ready to ask you, because I'm sure for someone listening there, they understand maternal ambivalence at this point. They think they've got an understanding of that. They see themselves in what you've talked about, our conversation, and as well as your eloquent description of little fires everywhere. So now they're wondering, what daily practices can I do to help me to, first of all, understand that those feelings are okay, and then function in the midst of all that?
Okay. One thing I meant to say is the reason I wrote this book to help, because I would have liked a book like this.
Me too.
I would have liked that, because I had this vision, as I said, of mothering being just, satisfying all the things that I wasn't yet. So I would have liked this book. And what can mothers do? I think we as mothers need to disrupt this ideal about perfect motherhood. It doesn't exist. And really think about, when it's presented to us, give ourselves a thinking space about, does it exist, or is it this person trying to put their stuff onto me? So just think about it and challenge it. Don't take it as a given. That's one thing. The other thing that I often think about is the use of the word should. I don't like should, because should brings with it expectations. My child should be doing this. No, let's take it out. I should be doing this. No, let's take that out. Let's kind of engage with it and think about it. Let's not put prescriptions or judgment on it. That's another important kind of tool that I use, because it's a good tool. I don't use many tools, but that's a good one. The other thing is learning to respond rather than react. When you talked about like when you were talking about your experiences when you were younger as a mother and everything's busy and hectic, and you kind of, sometimes our default switch is to go into anger or to go into cutting off or to go into whatever. What myself and ambivalence is trying to make us do is to connect. And instead of doing any of those things, to give ourselves 10 seconds to think about responding, or 20 seconds. Don't rush with it. Slow down and think, how can I respond? And your example, how can I maybe introduce laughter? Can I lessen the temperature here?
Right.
And if we do it once, it's wonderful. And I'm not saying it has to be that we're going to get this every time. Time we get it, let's pat ourselves on the back and say, I did it. That's fantastic. Maybe it will work next time. Maybe it won't. But once we're kind of, our body management has kind of got it once, get it again. And we can get it again. One of the examples I use in my book was similar to what you were saying. There was the mother with her 3 kids getting ready to go to school. She was driving them to school. There's the older boy who just finished his project. He had to take it to school. He was so proud of it. The middle child, the girl who's a little bit younger, and there's the baby. And the mother was giving them breakfast and going over in her mind, how's my day going to pan out? I'll get them to school. I'll have time to take my toddler to the park. I'll bring him home to have a sleep. Then I can do my work Zoom. Everything's going to be great. It's all going to work out. And then suddenly the middle child, the little girl, drops milk all over the project and over herself. She's horrified. She's crying. The older boy is beside himself because he spent weeks on this project. The mother doesn't know where to put herself. Last week, when this happened, something like this happened, like she melted down. She lost the plot. She somehow, and let's stress this, she managed to pull herself together. She wipes the project off. It's okay. It's not a disaster. It's okay. It's fine. And then she has to dress the little girl because she's got milk all over herself. And she manages somehow to get them all into the car and get them to school on time. It's like, phew.
Yes.
I managed to do that. And then she thinks about what happened last week and how it was disaster. Oh, let me go back. On the way in the car, when she's driving them, she's telling them the story about something happening to her the same. And they're all laughing about it and they're imagining the mother as with the jeans and the milk and the chocolate powder all over her, and they're all laughing and giggling. So she gets them to school. And then she thinks about it. She thinks last week it was a disaster. This week it was fine. I was enough today. It was a win. She pats herself on the back. And what she says is, okay, I've had a win. Next time it mightn't work, but it worked this time. So, and that's so important to acknowledge those wins, to know next time it might work, next time it doesn't, but it doesn't matter. And have compassion and forgiveness and pat yourself on the back. And as mothers, I don't think we pat ourselves enough on the back. And that's another really important part of my message, that we need to be forgiving of ourselves, of our kids, and be compassionate. And those times that we do well, yeah, we do well. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being enough. And that's such an important part of my message.
And what would you say then, as we think about support systems for moms and families, whether it's the informal, meaning just the people around them, friends, family, community organizations, what would you say to them to help moms on this journey of discovering and embracing these conflicting feelings and finding comfort with them?
Okay, well, the first thing I would say is they need to be named.
Okay.
Ambivalence needs to be named and understood, because if it's not named, you actually don't attach an understanding or even a symbolism to it. You need, the first thing is it needs to be named and understood. And the difficult negative parts of it have to be removed. It's got to be part of our conversation.
Okay.
That's one thing. The other parts of it is that the mother herself needs to be able to own and claim these feelings
Okay.
and to start to be comfortable with them. And a big part of that, I think, is that the mother, as mothers, as people, we have antennas about
Mhm.
who we're comfortable with and who we're not comfortable with, who gives us energy and who takes that energy and self-belief away from us. And I
Mhm.
think it's really important that we surround ourselves, if we're talking about friendship groups or people that really are on our side, that believe in us and that don't chip away our self-confidence. And we know who those people are. So
Right.
let's make sure that we really, really that we look after ourselves and teach our kids to look after themselves. And really, if someone isn't doesn't want to isn't on our team, you either have to challenge them, or if you're not in that space, okay, maybe that person is not right for me at this time. It mightn't be right. And we have to know what's right for us, and we know. We just develop this
Right.
antenna. It's really interesting because when I look at my first experience of mothering, it was in 1980, a long, long time ago.
Mhm.
And what we used to do at that time, it was long before social media. It was even before cell phones. We had like a really organic way of getting together. Every week we used to go to one person's house, sit around with our children. It was either an early dinner or an afternoon snack or whatever. It was organic. We talked about our kids. We talked about what they were eating. We talked about sleeping. We talked about all those things that matter to young
Yes.
mums. But we felt supported. There was my sister, there was old friends, and it was safe. It was a safe space. So that's really what I'm saying. Go to your safe spaces. You know what they are.
I like this. This is very, very good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
If you're lucky enough to have a supportive partner, then
Right.
that's wonderful. Like you've won.
Mhm.
If sometimes your partner's not supportive or they're away or they can't do it, or, you need to not, okay, that's what it is. And
Sure.
maybe find someone else, whether it's a mum, whether it's a friend. And these, times change over the years. So I think also there's something else about the partner. It's also important to give your partner a chance to be the father or the mother or whatever it is, and not to be too critical of them.
True.
Let them do their fathering or mothering their way. Like your way is your way, but the same way that you want someone to believe in you as a mother, which is so
Yes.
important, believe
Mhm.
in them. If the child wears like dirty clothes or the clothes don't look right or they have an ice cream instead of dinner, doesn't matter. I mean, it's like so important to be fluid.
And I think especially if you're on the same page about the end goals,
Yes. Yes.
the
And
end goal rather.
mm,
Yeah, I think that is good. And then as you said, then allow them to create the relationship with their child that's unique to them,
that's
but
right.
honors what you all are working toward.
Exactly right. And it might give you a bit of a break.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
can take they can do their thing. And it's so fascinating because the more I engage with a topic, the more this topic with people, the more I kind of say it well or articulate my message
Hmm.
in a new way. It's
Right. Right.
cool.
Yeah. It's a very important topic. It's something that moms need to absolutely understand is out there and that they're okay. How can we follow you?
Okay, well, you can go to my website, Dr. Margo Lowy or .com. That has my Instagram, my Facebook. I do a lot on Instagram. You can find my book there. You can buy it on Amazon. There's a Audible version, which is not my voice, but it's okay. And you can get it on Kindle.
Okay.
So that's how you can find me. And if you want to go on Instagram and direct message me with any kind of, I love engaging. I have comments. I don't necessarily say that my answers are right. That's not what it's about. It's really about, engaging with people who are really serious about this topic and can play with it and can learn. And I'm learning all the time with it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much to Dr. Margo Lowy for just coming here and sharing her insights and helping us peel back the layers of what it truly means to be a mother. And her work reminds us that motherhood is not defined by constant joy or perfection, but by the ability to hold space for all of our emotions, even the uncomfortable ones.
Yes,
and so
the uncomfortable ones.
And, embracing the full spectrum of maternal feelings, we can really find self-acceptance. And we kind of got there. I've talked a lot about that at the end, under self-understanding, self-acceptance, which can lead to self-care. And it also just deepens our love and our wisdom as parents. So, for the parents out there, the moms out there, here's to embracing and normalizing the messy, real moments of motherhood and supporting each other in the journey. Let's get back to that. That's something else we ended on too. So as you lean into the full range of emotions that you experience as a mom, it can make a world of difference to have people to talk to and people to exchange ideas with and someone to celebrate wins with. Yes. And someone to encourage, because don't you know, when you look outside yourself to be a listening ear or a shoulder to lean on, you can grow stronger. And I know just the place where you can do that, the Parenting 411 community. And you can join us on Facebook. Check the show notes for the link. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Parenting 411 podcast. And remember, it is never too late to be the parent you want to be. Can't wait to talk to you again next time. Thank you for tuning in today. Take care.
We bring you this episode for the purpose of information and entertainment only. It is not the intent or purpose of the Parenting 411 podcast or Carol Maletta to provide an exhaustive reference or guide on all aspects of parenting, childcare, and family life. You are strongly encouraged to read all available information, consult medical or other appropriate professionals, and pursue all reasonable means to learn as much as possible about parenting, to complement what you gain here, and then tailor the information to meet your individual needs. Yes, parenting is a serious matter, though it is not an exact science. The context and insights offered in this and every episode represent an account of knowledge and personal experiences of the host and any featured guests for the viewers' and listeners' information and consideration. The host and guests do not guarantee to our viewers or listeners any specific parenting outcomes from this episode or taking actions described here.